So I think we have been able to extract maximum benefit out of Mr. Rahman. And now he is going to speak on latest developments in patent filing and prosecution at the EPO. So I again welcome you, sir.
Thank you very much. You can all hear me from, yes? Okay, maybe before I start this, because I got some questions during breaks on how the procedure works in fact in the EPO. Maybe I can start off with that to give you a little bit of background information how everything runs. So when we receive a patent application in the office, it's decided by a pool of engineers to which technology it belongs, and that is then sent to a directorate, and each directorate is responsible for a small subpart of the technology. For example, I have 35 examiners working only in mainly portable devices, this type of things. Before, of course, it gets to the examiner, you have some formal matters. So there are the formalities officers who will check if everything is formally correct. For example, are there claims in the application? Things like that. Is the applicant a European for European applications? If not, then he has to appoint an attorney, things like that. Okay, so the examiner gets a file. The first thing he or she will do is read the file and do the search based on his or her experience, mainly using CPC classes plus some keywords, because CPC we think is the strong point of the EPO. It is based on our previous ECTA classification, and we have very deep knowledge of that in the house. And if that examiner thinks it's a borderline case or it is a combination of two technologies, he will then go and consult the other person as well to get better input, how does that go. So in order to get the good keywords, in order to get the good classes. When the search is done, that person, the single person still in search is only one examiner, writes the search report and the first written opinion. In those exceptional cases where he or she has doubts, you can always already appoint a full division. Also for newcomers, there will also always be a division, because they will decide in the group of three then how it goes on. Okay, so after search, you have the possibility to continue or not to continue. There are different types, I'm not going to go into all those details. But if you decide to continue, you should react on what we have written in the written opinion. So if it's a positive one, you can expect a grant. If it's a negative one, you should react on our objections. That file then comes back to the same examiner that has done the search, and he will look at what you have written, maybe new claims. In most cases you will find new claims, or some reasonings why you think that our reasoning is wrong is also possible. It can be that then it's ready for grant, it can be that it's not yet ready for grant, then there will be more interactions with the applicant up until a final decision is taken. The final decision is always taken with the division of three. The first person working on the file has to more or less explain the others to why he thinks or she thinks that this is grantable, and then it will pass on to the director's desk and will be published, etc., etc. If it is considered not to be ready for grant, and it takes a couple of interactions, then we will call the representative or the inventor in for oral proceedings. For Indian applicants, it must be the representative, so we don't talk to inventors if they're not within Europe. These are the rules of the EPC. We will then sit with the whole division, the three people, in a room, and then you will actually live interact with the attorney and trying to come to a solution. If there is a solution to grant, if not, you will then decide to refuse, and that's a refusal then. Any decision, negative decision, can then be appealed. If we give you a refusal, you can go to the Board of Appeal. That's a separate procedure, a separate set, a separate DG even. They are completely isolated from us. If we go positive, you receive an intention to grant, you should then say, okay, I pay, and whatever, always payments related of course. You pay, you file some translations. At that point in time, when the patent is published, the opposition period starts. And then, during 9 months, any person or any company can file an opposition, a reasoned opposition, while he or she thinks his patent should not have been granted. Once it's after 9 months, then it becomes national patents for the time being, a European patent, then has to be filed with the national patent offices for those countries where you want protection, with, again, payment of fee. So that's the procedure. So as you can hear, we only have post-grant opposition. We don't have pre-grant opposition, but we do have third-party observations. So if you see somewhere an application that is still under work in EPO, you can file observations, say, hey, Mr. or Mrs. Examiner, I have this prior art here, I think it's very important for your case, and I think we shouldn't grant it for this and this and this reason. It is not anonymously allowed, it must be, you must file it in a name, but okay, if your mother sends it in, it's a name. Okay, that's more or less in very short the procedure. It normally takes me half an hour to explain that, but I thought I steal 5 minutes from this presentation. Okay, can I have the next slide, please? So, today, EPO, as I mentioned already this morning, we are normally always said to have a good quality. One of the reasons, as mentioned, is this division of 3 examiners that are there to help each other. It's the search tools, it's the time we give them. Since the last years now, we have increased efficiency due to new tools, due to more time. Especially capacity has increased. What we have done is we are automizing a lot our procedures, and that means that our support staff, we need less support staff to do photocopying and all that kind of stuff, because it's all electronic now. And whenever support staff leaves, he or she is replaced by an examiner. So where we used to be only 4,000 examiners 3 years ago, we are now 4,300. So each time we're getting bigger and bigger. And moreover, we have pulled back some examiners that were doing other tasks. We had examiners working in our IT department for part-time or full-time, and they are all called back in order to increase our capacity. The general complaint we always get is the timeliness. You're good, but you're slow. Okay. So we've now considered all of that, and our management has decided to do something about it. Because of these increases of capacity and efficiency, we have more possibility now to grow. Next slide, please. In July 2014, we've introduced a procedure called early certainty for search. You might have heard of that, you might not have heard of it. But the idea is to optimize the use of our examiners to maximize the legal certainty of pending applications. And we do that by providing a search within 6 months. So we do not longer publish, for the people knowing it, the A2 publications, so the publications without search report. Every search goes out with a search report within the necessary time. For PCT, that's the 3 months which are in the PCT guidelines. We do PCT searches within 3 months. So we fully respect this one. To put it on 99.9%, you will always have the run out for some bizarre reason. Next, please. So, we issued our searches within 6 months. For those cases where the outcome is already positive during search, where the examiner thinks this is a grantable subject, they will be prioritized during examination. When they come into examination, the examiner will see that high in his or her priority list and will be able to work on it quickly, so that you as well get a quick round. We have a process of fast-tracking examination. It's called the PACE program. It is for free. You can ask acceleration of your applications for free. And we've also fast-tracked those. We still have a little bit of a way to go in certain areas, but normally we're respecting that. We're also fast-tracking the third-party observations, because if you are interested as a third party that something is happening with this file, it means that the public is interested in the outcome, so we fast-track it as well. Also oppositions, we have changed the opposition system, but we prioritize them as well. And now we finish first the examinations which are ongoing before we start new ones. So we'll have to somewhere build up a stock because we cannot treat everything, but it is now decided to stock them before we start examination. But once examination starts on that file, whenever the examiner has some possibility to deal with them, it will continue within the 4 months of reply time that you also have to reply to us. So we apply the same rules ourselves what we apply to you. There is still a backlog from some very old searches from before 2014, well very old, not that old, but from before 2014, but they are going to be gone fully in 2017, and also there, if you would have or know someone having a search still pending there, ask for acceleration, it's for free. Next one please.
I have a question.
Yes.
What is your current timeline by which you normally grant patents, and if you were to file a PACE request, how would that timeline be reduced?
We're coming to that later in the presentation. So the aim is to maximize legal certainty for you as applicant, but also for the public at large to have an idea. Any search that's filed, you have the search report, you have an opinion. We try to avoid blind spots. We used to have what is called the EuroPCT BIS searches that were pending. EuroPCT BIS searches are searches where international searches of the PCT enter the regional phase with us and where EPO was not a search authority. So if, for example, US was the ISA, International Search Authority, and you come with that application towards a regional phase, at that point in time, we will do a new search because we want to be sure that we have all documents available. We don't trust their quality. Then I already mentioned that the applicants and third parties can access. So, this is a timeline of where we are at the end of June. As I mentioned, we are about 4,300 examiners. The backlog in what we call priority 1, so top priority, being searches, being accelerated examinations or searches, being accelerated oppositions, is just 1 per person. And that's, it's very difficult to get below that because, a couple of months, you need some leeway there. Yes, please. This is what you wanted to know. Early start from search means that the prior art search is done within 6 months at the latest. It depends, of course, on the type of product where you come in. If you have a PCT, as I said, it's 3 months, but of course you file them later, we get them later. A first filing, where you have the first filing with the EPO, we will wait 6 months, because otherwise there is too big a risk that prior art is not yet known. We will, of course, always then do, when we enter examination, what we call a top-up search, especially for first filings, to be sure that we catch up all those documents which are published after 18 months. So you have what already Arvind mentioned this morning, you have in fact a blind spot of 18 months. We of course see it internally our own products, but we can't tell it to you. Also because we're not sure it will ever be published, because if you as an applicant, you can withdraw an application before it's published and it will then never be published. So it will never be prior art. You have that in exceptional cases. Examination will be on average done within 12 months. So from the request of examination. And we'll come to the full timeline later on with how that all fits together. This is of course an average and is also depending on the technical area. If you have, especially in mechanics areas, it's quite easy to find somewhere a mechanical detail that's not in the prior art. You add that and you have something grantable. If you look in chemistry and biotech, there in most cases you have 2, 3, 4 iterations because you have all these specific possibilities to reduce reductants and whatever it is. It's not my area, but it's way more complicated to come to an acceptable area. And also in computer-related areas, you have those non-patentability issues, and in lots of cases you also need some more interactions before actually you find something grantable, if it is at all grantable. can of course also end with refusals. And then opposition, we will do them within 15 months from filing from reception, no, from the end of the opposition period. We have a slide on that later on. So we are really trying to focus and push this forward. Okay, why do we go on? As mentioned, we had in 2015 very good results. You saw that this morning in my slides. We have a very big boost in production. And moreover, also for you, it will reduce costs, because after 3 or 4 years, you have to start paying renewal fees on those cases that you might not know if it will actually end. So if we finish early, you have an earlier certainty that it's valuable. And as well, especially as well in ICT, the product life cycles are very short. Okay. Apple 6, Apple 7, Apple 8, it goes very fast. And whatever is in an Apple 6 might no longer be interested for an Apple 8, whatever it is. Of course, in these products, you have about 1,000 patents in a single mobile, but a lot of it is cross-licensed between them as well. Qualcomm is inside an Apple computer, and moreover, in a lot of these cases, like these big companies, it's only in about 20% of the patents that they get that they actually use. The other 80 are defensive, so that nobody else can do it. They of course have the money to do that. We have other possibilities to publish in other journals for defensive publications. Yes, please. Okay, I think I've more or less already said that. Next one, please. This is the mission statement of the EPO. So, as the Patent Office for Europe, we support innovation, competitiveness and economic growth across Europe through a commitment to high quality and efficient services delivered under the EPC. So you see the efficiency is in there already in our basic statement. That's one of the reasons we really should try and do it with the possibility. Moreover, back in 1999, we had then an intergovernmental conference. The administration of the EPO is quite complicated because we have a board of national officers that rule us. But if we want to change articles in the EPC, we need an intergovernmental conference. And in 2000, just before that, we had a new EPC that was discussed there. One of the changes was the articles have been changed, some articles have been added and changed. But then it was also decided that we should try and finish patents within 3 years. So from filing to grant, 3 years. This is what, at that point in time, they already told us to do. Okay, 14 years later, it's slowly starting to get there. Next, please. So, as said, we want to try to bring the average time of a grant down to 3 years. But we cannot do this from one day to the other. We need about 5 years, so we expect to be fully compliant by 2020. If you translate the Paris criteria of the 3 years, you have 18 months that it takes you between filing and publishing with the search report. Then you have, as applicant, you have 6 months time to react. If you add 12 months to that, on average for the processing, you come to the 3 years. That's where 12 months come from. So the moment a re-examination request is filed, and you have made it clear that this is your only request, because otherwise you have to wait 6 months. You have 6 months time to file new filings, but you have to be aware of that. But once it's done, we should go within 12 months to finish it. Again, on average, it will go faster for some areas, it will go faster for other areas, it will go faster for one application, slower for another. Next one, please. What we've also changed since the 1st of July is the refund policy. Up until July 2016, when you withdrew an examination file, you only got 75% of your examination feedback. We've changed that, and it's now the full 100%. It's also a way that we try to convince people sitting on patents that are not very valuable to take their money and run. That's what we try to do. So you get a full refund until examination starts, and that is an action triggered by the examiner which is visible in IPR lines or in the docket. It's a specific action. What we're trying to do now, it's still in a transition phase, is to warn you as applicant 2 months beforehand. We will start your application within 2 months. Are you sure you want to continue? Because if you withdraw, you get 100% back. If you don't react, we will continue. It's not that you have to send this, you have. We are aware that any action from an applicant or from a representative costs you money, so if you don't do anything, you will get the actions there. If you were taken by surprise, you still have the first period. If you withdraw before the end, you still get 50% refund. After you react the first time in examination, forget it. It's no longer refunded. Because then we have done already 2 actions in fact on it. Next please. For those cases where it is directly granted, it's more or less the same. If you expect a grant, it's a bit strange that you would withdraw, but it's always possible because there are costs involved, of course. If you know you have a positive search report out and you have asked examination from the beginning to continue, and you see that it's going positive and all of a sudden your financing go bad, or you would have hoped that with this positive, what is happening a lot with the smaller inventors, with a positive search report, they go and try and find some financing for the continuation of the procedure. If that is not happening, you might still have a withdrawal there and get the refund. Next one, please. Okay, opposition. I don't know if you are aware of what the procedure was. Go to the next because there's a time slide. Okay, it's easy to explain. Okay, so as I mentioned previously, after a patent is granted by us, there is 9 months time for opponents to file opposition. We will always wait for the 9 months before something is happening in opposition. Once the opposition period is over and a notice of opposition has been found, a reasoned opposition, this is then sent to the patent holder, to the patentee, for comment. Sir or lady, we have somebody is not agreeing to that thing, please react on it. And there he has a standard time of 4 months. What happened previously is that we sent the reply of the patentee back to the opponent for another reaction on that one. But we've stopped that now. Once we have the reply back in for the patentee, the file is actually allocated to an opposition division. And an opposition division is also a division with 3 members, where maximum 1 of them has been in the examination division. So 1 or 0 are from the examination division. We normally try to have the first examiner who has the most knowledge of the file to be as well in the opposition, just to pass on the information. But there is always a majority not part. So that's in order to ensure neutrality as much as possible. So once we get the reply from the patentee, the opposition division gets the files. It is sent to the opponents but without a time limit. The opposition division will act on it within a couple of months and will immediately summon for oral proceedings. Standard procedure for oppositions, you always need oral proceedings to finish it off. Again there, this opposition division is sitting in a room. On the one side you have the patentee, on the other hand the opposition group, also the attorneys, and then the ping pong starts. Why do you think it's not okay? Why do you think it's okay? Maybe if you change this with auxiliary request whatsoever, you come to a final decision, which is in oral proceedings, can be the revocation of the patent, it can be the maintenance of the patent, or it can be the maintenance of a patent in amended form. So you change a little bit the claims so that it's okay. And it is roughly about 1/3, 1/3, 1/3. So whenever the opponent comments or doesn't comment in between, it is taken into account into the filing, but all final remarks must be in within 2 months before the oral proceedings, and then during the oral proceedings the decision is taken, and this then leads you to about 15 months. Yeah? So, this is what we try to do by 2020. So if you file a search, it depends in which phase you are. Is it the first filing, you will get a search report after 6 months. If it is a second filing, as well after 6 months, but that's of course then later already in the procedure. Before 18 months you cannot do anything in the procedure, because we have to wait some time before it can go on. Even if it's a first filing and it goes positive, we need that time to be sure that the other publications are published. We don't have any conflicting patents or patent applications hanging that were filed maybe just 1 day before yours. 1 day is enough. So it's published 18 months minus 1 day, and we need some time to get that into our systems to be classified.
So does the PACE request improve these timelines?
The PACE request will ensure that in search it will not change anything anymore because we are there. Unless it's one of the yours cases that's still filed there. In examination, it will ensure that it is treated immediately. We will take your file from the bottom, priority 3, and we will put it on the top, priority 1. And it will be dealt with within 3 months. If you file a PACE request in examination, within 3 months you have a reaction from it.
And all subsequent examination will also be dealt by.
And all subsequently as well, unless you don't reply to us within 4 months. If you ask for prolongation, you're out. And you're out for good. You're back at the bottom. And then it can take years again. But if you accelerate and you play your part of the deal as well, you answer us within 4 months, we keep on playing that game as quickly as we can. And then at the end, if it really goes negative, you will have oral proceedings to attend to. And that should give us these guidelines. Did I answer all your questions now, or
Some of them, not all.
not all? What other ones are open then?
We can discuss it offline.
Okay, fine. Next, please. Okay, so accelerated searches is still possible, but it's not very useless. As said, already started examinations are in a higher priority group. They are lower than the searches and lower than the accelerated ones. One started in priority group 2 for the examiners. We have a whole computer system that is keeping track of who does what and who should do what. But during any time you can ask acceleration. Unstarted examination is in a lower priority, still again group 3, but you can trigger it by acceleration or by third-party observations. Next, please. How can you speed up matters more even? That's what I mentioned, PACE. In total, we have about 7% of the applications that are accelerated. We will normally accept all PACE requests, unless you're a very big player that is filing 1,000 acceleration requests in 1 day, then we will give you a little phone call and tell you, maybe you should prioritize them. It has happened. They can choose. We have even had one large company that accelerated all of them, so we said, no way. But if you look at smaller inventors, if you have only 10 or 15 applications pending with us, and if you accelerate them all, nobody will notice even probably. That's not an issue. Go on. For those people working with US and or Japan or other countries with the patent prosecution highway, so that's a cooperation we have with those countries that we exchange results of search and examination. They will also trigger a PACE request. So if you make a request for prosecution highway, then you will reverse as well, it will accelerate. Yes. So these waivers are possible to accelerate the procedure. Waivers are intentions that you give as applicant to us that you do not want to exercise your full right to wait for a certain point in time. It's different than PACE. PACE, you ask us to speed up. For waivers, you abandon a certain right. Next. There are multiple possibilities. The first one, okay, sorry about the EPC language in there. But the first one says, is linked with grants. If you receive a grant, a proposal to grant, you normally have 4 months then to agree to that and to file translations. You can also not agree to what we have sent you, because sometimes the examiners will make some small changes themselves, or you still see that something is wrong in a description or some typos that are still in there that you want corrected before the patent is granted. So then you can send us a request for correction. Normally, if you send us only a request for correction, you will get a new communication under Rule 71.3, and you will have, again, the 4 months that plays a role. What you can do is say, I file this request for corrections, but I waive my right, if you agree, EPO, with what I propose you, I waive my right to say again that it's okay. So if you agree with what I'm sending you in, then it's okay, you can continue with publication. So those are 4 months that you can bring there. The other ones are linked with start of examination. And the first is in the EP phase. After reception of a search report, you normally have 6 months to tell us to continue. You always get that, even if you ask for, but you can waive that right. You can say, after the search report, I immediately continue with examination, so please send me immediately the first communication, which will then also automatically bring you in priority 2 group, which will speed up also in our priority listings. Or you can send in already a reply after 1 month and explicitly tell us we want early processing, you can go on now. Because otherwise we are legally obliged to wait 6 months. This is the same under the PCT. So if we were ISA in PCT and we have sent you a written opinion on the search report, or in IPR and IPRP after chapter 2, you again have those famous 6 months that you have time to come and react to us. Also these you can waive. Next week. This is graphically the possibilities to speed up. So after filing in the search report, you waive your right to react. You save 6 months. Intention to grant, you have another 4 months that you can win if you have corrections. Again, PACE is not waiver. It's 2 separate things, you have to file them separately. For the PACE there is a standard form, for the waivers as well. Everything is standard form. You can all find them on the internet. But again, for you, you have to go through your representative in Europe. Those are the only ones that can find something like this. So this is the case of Eurodirect. Next one, please. So this is what I explained. When we were the International Search Authority. You can save, again, 6 months there, 4 months there. You can see this all delays the whole procedure, PCT. We only start examination after 31 months. So in these cases, you will not have them after 1 year, after 3 years, that's clear. But it's your choice to go PCT. And it's even done on purpose by quite some companies to wait there, to have PCTs, to give them the time. Especially in the area of standards, it's one of the tricks that they do. They file PCT because they want to wait as long as possible to see where the discussions are going with the standards, so that they might try and tune their claims towards a direction which is still open, maybe using Arvin's tricks there, that kind of stuff they do. Or otherwise to see if products are on the market from competitors, they might try and steer their claims towards that product in order then to go for infringement. Apple is good at that.
So these waivers would only be filed in case you have a positive search report, right?
Sorry?
You will only file a waiver if you have a positive search report.
No, negative as well. If you want to speed up things, you waive your rights.
No, but if you have a negative search report, and how will you communicate with the examiner if he wants you to change your claims?
That's in the communication.
The waiver says that you will not communicate, you're okay with whatever the EPO is like.
No. Waiver says that you don't wait 6 months. That you, if you reply immediately, or even if you have waived your right at the beginning, the search report will not be accompanied by a written opinion, or ISO, as we call them, European Search Opinion, but you will receive the search opinion within a month after you have the search report, but as communication this time from the examiner. So actually examination will have started. You waive your right to wait, you waive your right to react. This is all possibilities to speed up things if it's necessary. Next one, please. These are cases where we are not the ISA. You can see that even delays a little bit more because, again, you add 6 months after the 31 months before we do the search for you, which means you have more time again. It's a choice you make as applicants which route to follow. It has consequences on the timelines.